Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. So, One Piece chapter 1011 is out. If you guys haven't checked out that chapter yet, I suggest that you do so because I will be spoiling you. But now that you have, let's begin. You guys already know it's gonna be tough for me not to sound like a cocky prick after this one. So yeah, that's probably going to happen. But maybe not in the way that you think. But yeah, it's been a long ride with Big Mom for me, the channel, and everybody who's followed or peeped over the years. Anybody who's been around for a long time knows that. If you told me in 2016 that I'd be writing this Big Mom thing for 5 years at least, waiting for her story to come around, I'd have never believed you. Honestly, in 2016, I was sure the main part of Big Mom's story would make itself apparent. Her role would be clarified by the end of Whole Cake Island, and now we are just about exactly 100 chapters into Wano, the reverie space between. I get the feeling that people want to hear a certain kind of reaction from me after this chapter. Essentially, it's a huge W. Big Mom, after almost 200 chapters, she is finally an ally. JB raises his hands triumphantly, right? Yeah, but also no, but really yeah. I'm not sure that this is what many of you guys think that it is, at least not yet. I'll obviously explain this. But what I can tell you is, outside of the endgame I've imagined for Big Mom for a long time, this chapter went a long way to confirming who I thought Big Mom was as a character. And it's just another chapter which emphasizes the thing that I like most about Big Mom, which is unpredictability. At least unpredictable for those who don't want to wear tinfoil. But yeah, I'm already seeing a lot of these comments, and you guys know I've been on this for a long time. But now is a good time to do it again. What the hell happened with Big Mom in this chapter? Why is she 1 second ready to kill all the Straw Hats and totally destroy the Alliance, and then the next second, when Tama appears, she's now on the other team completely? My explanation for this, which is I'm going to treat as pretty definitive, but it's obviously still theory, but I feel pretty definitive about this, and I have obviously for many years. But my reason is, for Big Mom's, to explain Big Mom in this chapter, is that Big Mom is not as evil as you may think her to be. She is not as irredeemable as you believe her to be either. Big Mom is complicated and has been the entire story. But Oda has done a fantastic job of weaving into her story the possibility of a light at the end of the tunnel. Essentially a pathway to make Big Mom a completely different person, character that we see in a completely different way. This line was the thing that I felt like was the most significant reveal about Big Mom in 1011. The pirate world may be cruel, but there are still standards. I really don't think that this chapter confirms that Big Mom is going to be an ally even in the short term. However, this line, it is also a confirmed theory, and I believe to be very important. I've essentially been arguing this for a long time. Big Mom and the Big Mom Pirates, they have standards, they have a code. The Big Mom Pirates, in a way that many people do not fully understand yet, believe themselves to be the heroes that are trying to save the world. In many ways, they are the exact opposite of Kaido, the Beast Pirates, and what they stand for. The way that Oda has laid this out is honestly, it's clever as shit. He has done his very best to almost always put the Big Mom Pirates and Big Mom herself in situations which highlight their worst qualities, while subtly hinting that this is not who they are, it's who they sometimes are. I'm pretty confident that the vast majority of things that Big Mom and the Big Mom Pirates have done in this story is very, very misleading. When Big Mom is first introduced, Oda implies Big Mom is a cannibal, that she eats people alive. This gives us an impression of her. The very first impression we have of Big Mom is very negative. Big Mom is scary as heck. Just the kind of person that Luffy needs to, surely take down. So we get to Whole Cake Island, and we learn instead that she's not eating people, the food here is alive. Taking the first scene of Big Mom and Fishman Island, and then the very beginning of Whole Cake Island, it sets a kind of theme for Oda's objectives and goals with Big Mom's story. It looks like, and it's pretty much straight up, he's looking to confuse us about her nature. But wait, not long after that, we see Big Mom kill even her own children. And this isn't really entirely explained, not straight up. Later during her flashback, Oda blows our minds with the reveal that she probably is actually a cannibal. She ate the orphans and Mother Carmel, most likely. But Oda makes this kinda confusing too. The reveal that hasn't quite happened yet, the reveal that at least is not officially official, is that this is not who Big Mom usually is. It's a weird state that she can't control and has no recollection of. Her hunger pangs. Big Mom didn't remember destroying Whole Cake Island or killing Moscato at the beginning of the arc. Her children don't even understand what is going on. She also does not recall what happened to the old giants, one of which she killed, the orphans, or Mother Carmel. Again, during the Tea Party, Mother, where did you go? So Big Mom was a cannibal, and then she wasn't a cannibal, and then she was a cannibal. However, she's only a cannibal when she's not herself. Oda made a point of showing Big Mom at her very, very worst, almost throughout her whole arc, and has laid out clues that it isn't who she actually is or who she wants to be. Given a choice, given some understanding of her own situation, Big Mom probably won't choose to kill her own children and probably definitely wouldn't have chosen to kill the old giant who she liked and her friends and her mother figure. So it's kind of like Oda saying Big Mom is this scary monster who doesn't want to be a monster. Not really. But as with essentially everything regarding Big Mom, there are exceptions which complicate and confuse the situation. So this is how I see Big Mom. The real Big Mom is a spoiled, childlike, but still old, and idealistic pirate who just wants everybody to get along and is willing to force people to get along if that's required, even if that means killing the bad guys, or sometimes even killing good guys. If it means protecting herself, her family, the paradise she has created, and her dreams. Essentially, Big Mom is summed up best by this phrase, Mama knows best. She believes that if you listen to her, do what she says, and follow her rules and her order, the world will be a better place for everybody. And it's the same thing she teaches to her family, and also I presume those she recruits. This is totally absent of the whole hunger pang situation and the things that she does during it because she is totally not aware of this aspect of her, and her children don't understand it either. When you're thinking about who Big Mom actually is, the vast majority of the time, you can ignore this. But anyway, this is all alluded to in her backstory. Her backstory, I think, kind of explains where she started and how she slowly transitioned to where she is now. In her backstory, she didn't want the bear to fight the wolf. Fighting is bad. This is one of Big Mom's core philosophies. It's very simple-minded, but I believe it holds true even to this day. Fighting is bad. Everybody should get along. Big Mom believes that in her heart. Even though Oda has done a great job of making this so confusing, it's almost indecipherable. So she stopped the bear, in the process, accidentally killing it. And this behavior was reinforced by the adult she trusted most, that she respected most, Mother Carmel. In this scene, she essentially learns that killing accidentally, maybe even on purpose, is okay if you mean well. And that's something you have to understand about Big Mom, is that no matter what she does, she means well. As she grows up, this is taken further and further away from, I would guess, is the ideal. At every turn, Big Mom is faced with people that won't listen to her. And I personally think that Big Mom becomes more and more desperate and more jaded by the world as it is. Essentially, she's trying to make everybody get along and she's frustrated by the problem, and that takes her to greater lengths of forcing people to do as she desires. So before, she definitely thought killing was bad. Then she learned it's only okay if it was an accident. Then it became killing is a tool that she's almost forced to use to rid the world of bad people, which included people who wouldn't listen to her because Big Mom knows best. Because people who oppose her clearly don't want the world to be a better place like she does. When you start to think about Big Mom and her crew in this way, I believe all the pieces start fitting together. In Big Mom's mind, she is justified in wanting to kill her daughter, Lola, because Lola betrayed Big Mom. Big Mom had these great plans of an alliance with Elbaf, and this would lead to her becoming the king of the pirates, and so would allow her to recreate the world as she envisioned, and Lola was the person who stopped all this. Lola became a bad person. Big Mom, however, wasn't justified in killing her sister, Chiffon, so you'll notice Big Mom always tried to restrain herself from that urge, even though they looked similar, and seeing her reminded her of Lola and made her mad. But her temper always strained that relationship and eventually led to Chiffon betraying her too. So Chiffon became a bad person. Much is made about Big Mom killing her own children, but the majority of the examples are not exactly accurate because they're related to her hunger pangs. Only in this particular example where her children become bad people is Big Mom actually willing to kill her children. It's an important distinction, one that I can explain to you and Oda will eventually get into, but the Big Mom pirates do not yet understand. It's kind of how Big Mom justifies herself as the hero. Big Mom is a kind of vigilante who kills bad people, and sometimes that does include her own children. But this is additionally clarified by the likely fact that Big Mom hasn't actually killed one of her children yet, not in this way. She wants to kill Lola, and she wants to kill Chiffon, but she hasn't. So far, any of the confirmed quote deaths where Big Mom has killed a child have been accidental. The same thing is sort of interrelated with Big Mom's stance on people leaving her pirate crew. She doesn't believe that it is okay for someone to leave her crew. In a way, people who try to become bad people because clearly nobody would want to leave if they wanted the world to become a better place. When they leave, such as when Jinbei tried to leave, they make Big Mom look bad. They make Big Mom look weak. They, in a way, allow other people to question her dreams or her ability to accomplish them. So Big Mom feels justified in punishing them, and she leaves that punishment up to chance. This also sort of interrelates with Big Mom's stance on agreements. Big Mom, I believe, holds agreements sacred when they are between two good people or herself and a group that might be neutral. So when someone decides to join her crew, it's a kind of agreement. When you break it, you're breaking something sacred to Big Mom. In at least some cases, doing so makes you a bad person that Big Mom is justified in killing. This is similar to when Big Mom agrees to terms with countries over sweets. Big Mom actually intends to follow that agreement. I believe that if you continue providing the sweets, Big Mom is going to protect you, follow her word, and all is well. That is part of her code. Assuming that group hasn't wronged her, if they listen to her, she is benevolent. But then you have examples like at the very beginning of Whole Cake Island when a country breaks their word, one way or another, and thereby threatens her paradise and everything she wants, her dreams, and what she stands for. This country that agreed to give her things but then failed to do so become bad people, and Big Mom believes herself justified to destroy them. This is just another thing that you need to understand about Big Mom's personality, is she does not listen well, right? So if a country doesn't provide whatever it is that she wants, Big Mom is not too patient in listening for the reason and tends to jump to conclusions about why they did that. We kinda saw that in Fishman Island. We of course know why the fishermen couldn't provide Big Mom candy. Big Mom didn't know that, and she immediately jumps to, well, time to get out the bombs, let's go destroy them. It's almost like Big Mom is just ready for all the people around her that she is associated with to disappoint her and prove themselves to be bad people. For me, Big Mom is this idealistic person who's become disenchanted with the realities of the world. Now she's got a trigger finger. But yeah, to the idea that Big Mom kills bad people, what's the main foreshadowing for that Oda has lined into the story? This is another thing that hasn't been explained just yet, but I think that it will. Big Mom was okay with killing the Finsmoke family because they were bad people. And everybody knew this. Warmongers and whatever else they were called. Big Mom seems to have a thing about family, right? Blood relations, I think, has some value to her. Again, another thing that needs more explanation. Sanji being a Finsmoke is almost by nature, it makes him a bad apple from a bad tree. So she has no problem with killing him either, as an extension of her desire to rid the world of the bad Vinsmoke family. This is obviously the exception that Oda wrote into the story to confuse us about Big Mom's belief that agreements are sacred. Big Mom will always do what it is that she is agreeing to, unless it's an accident, and the people that she makes agreements with, they have to do the same, and under those circumstances, it always works well. But Big Mom doesn't hold agreements sacred with bad people, the Vinsmoke or Kaido, maybe even Rox D. Zebek. Another good example, people who don't listen to her and don't come to her happy tea parties when they are invited, they are bad people. Many times she only invites notorious criminals anyway. Like, who was invited to the tea party? Members of the underworld. If they don't show up, she goes after their families. I think in Big Mom's mind, she believes that her tea parties are so wonderful and sacred and beautiful that they will turn bad people into good people. I really believe Big Mom thinks in this way. How could anybody be a bad person when they experience such a wonderful tea party? So anybody who happens to mess with the tea party becomes a bad person too. But I also have a theory related to this, and this is far less justified than other things, so take this with a grain of salt, but I thought it was interesting that Big Mom never really posed that much of a threat to Zeph, despite that being sort of hinted at early in Whole Cake Island, like, oh, well, if Sanji doesn't come to the tea party, then Big Mom is going to kill Zeph, and then, yes, Sanji shows up, but he actually destroys the tea party, or is part of that, but he's allowed to leave, and we're led to believe, well, Big Mom was never the threat to Zeph, only the Vinsmoke family. My low-key theory is that the family members that Big Mom targets or threatens to the members of the underworld she invites to her tea party, it's a kind of lie. It's said that she sends the heads of these family members to these people, but I kind of want to believe that these heads are fake, that they're made out of food or candy, like Parasparrow creates fake heads of these people. And then maybe the Big Mom Pirates round up the family member of the associated underworld person and then take them to, say, Totland, where they're forced to stay. We're not going to get into this too much, but it is my belief that Big Mom wants to come off as scarier than she actually is. She does so in part on purpose. That's kind of the lesson that Katakuri learned and told us at the end of Whole Cake Island. He learned that being a certain kind of person, very intimidating, allowed him to protect the people and the things that he loved most, which I feel like is a lesson that Big Mom also learned. But the other side of that was that Katakuri, despite acting a certain way and coming off as very bloodthirsty, is probably a good dude, who more often than not tries to avoid those kinds of actions. But the point is that Big Mom and the Big Mom Pirates, they don't want to kill good or innocent people. That is not something that they want to do. They may be capable of doing it, but that is not what they want. But here's another interesting example which sort of sheds light on Big Mom's mentality. Big Mom believes in the middle of Whole Cake Island that she has accidentally killed Brook. She cries, but forgets it and gets over it. Why? Because it was an accident. She didn't mean to. Intentions mean a lot to Big Mom. But the great irony here is that Big Mom knows her own intentions, so she always knows, hey, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make the world better. However, she does not know other people's intentions. This felt reinforced recently with Zeus, which is fascinating because Zeus is a part of her own soul. And the same is almost kind of reverse, where Big Mom comes off to other people as being vile and evil. She values intentions, but she doesn't understand people other than herself. So in the end, the only person's intentions who she knows is her own. And again, it's also interesting that the people that Big Mom seems to connect with most are children. She is childlike, so maybe in terms of understanding other people's intentions, it's children who she resonates with most, and so trusts more easily. This is actually kind of a really interesting dichotomy between Big Mom and Luffy. They're almost at polar opposites regarding this. Big Mom cares a lot about other people's intentions but can't read them, and Luffy has this innate, powerful ability to understand other people's intentions. If Big Mom had the same ability, we would see a different person. When Luffy first comes to Whole Cake Island, does Big Mom intend to kill him? Again, this is one of those things that isn't outright isn't stated or isn't totally clear, but I don't think that she intended to kill him. Why? Because Luffy doesn't fulfill her criteria. At least not yet. He's not a bad person in her mind at this time. Even during their argument in Fishman Island, Big Mom is perceptive enough to understand that Luffy was trying to protect the fishmen. I seriously believe Big Mom was impressed by that. She only lured Luffy to her island to either recruit him or convince him to give up his life as a pirate and his plans against her. In her mind, by breaking his spirit, she was being merciful. I don't think that Luffy is the only person that Big Mom has acted this way towards. We're sort of hinted at this with the story of Revujo going to Whole Cake Island, but the Big Mom pirates did not finish Revujo. They didn't kill him. I don't think that they believed Revujo at this point in time to be worthy of killing. He didn't fit their criteria. Their main objective was to crush his will and teach him to not oppose the Big Mom pirates. If you assume this to be true, it further sort of explains how the Big Mom pirates are willing to lie and create false impressions in order to protect their dreams and their country. They see value in having everybody else see their actions differently to how they see them. And we get a lot of details in the middle of Whole Cake Island of essentially, yeah, Big Mom intends to spare Luffy. It's only until after he ruins her tea party that, okay, no more mercifulness. After Luffy stands against her long enough and continues to prove to be a thorn in her side, killing him is fair game. She tried to explain, and Luffy wouldn't listen. Big Mom may still consider Luffy to be a decent person, but at this point in time, he's such a threat to her vision and her dreams that killing him is worth it. Because that's what pirates sometimes have to do. The pirate world is cruel. Big Mom knows and believes that she has the ability and the plan to make the world a better place. The ends justify the means sort of thing. Big Mom had an important line in Whole Cake Island, which was, I think, really easy to skip. But I always thought it explained a lot about her. She told her children, there are hundreds of people we want to kill every day, but you shouldn't do it. We have to try and find a way to get along. I believe the vast majority of the time, Big Mom only wants to get along. That's why Big Mom has recruited or birthed many people that are now allies of the Straw Hats, or could be. Peckham's isn't a bad dude, he's not. Why is he a Big Mom pirate? Because he believes in what Big Mom stands for. Her utopia really is a utopia. The people there choose to give up some life for the sake of her dream. In reality, it's no different than what Luffy demands of his crew. Put your life on the line for me, and I'll do the same for you. In Big Mom's case, it is very literal. Big Mom wants to see all the peoples and races get along. That's something Peckham's truly agrees with. One of the things that jumped off the page when I read it was how Sparrow treated the children who lived in Whole Cake Island. He seemed to genuinely care for them and acted like an older brother to them, making them candy, and seemed to be fulfilled by that. The people who live in Totland are not prisoners. They are refugees from a very harsh and unforgiving New World. Aside from when Mama rages, which is out of her control, life here is great. She actually protects them, and she is absolutely willing to fight for them, very similar to what we saw in this chapter regarding Big Mom and the nice people that gave her some food. And the relationship between the Big Mom pirates and the residents there is something that I think that Oda has been very deceptive about. But it's crazy how all these things can slightly change just given the new things that Big Mom does. Another reason why I love her so much. I feel like this situation with Okabore Town and how Big Mom acted in this chapter helps me understand her better. It's like, I didn't think about this before, but Big Mom is selfish, but she believes that her selfishness is justified. So how do you create the best possible relationship with Big Mom? You give her things without expecting anything in return, which is exactly what Okabore Town did. Big Mom did nothing for them, but they were nice enough to share what little they had. Big Mom is so self-important. She believes I know how to save the world, so good people should just give me things that I want or that I need to help me. However, in the normal circumstances, in the real world, right, people don't give without expecting something in return. Big Mom is willing to meet them regarding this, but she respects it less. I'll protect you, you give me sweets is not the same as, you'll give me sweets, but you don't expect anything more than that. There's many reasons why this concept could be very interesting going forward in the story, but to keep it to something that we definitely know occurred, the Strahds baked Big Mom the cake without expecting anything in return. They saved her and all of Totland. If she understood this would be apparent. In fact, they were endangering themselves. That's something that Big Mom should respect most. But conveniently, she does not know yet. Big Mom's creature book is another interesting example. She doesn't wish the creatures in the book any harm. She just wants to protect them. It's in her nature. The problem being that she has zero respect for what they themselves might think or want. She restricts their free will, in her mind, for their own benefit. This translates to other areas of Big Mom's life, which is a big reason why there's a lot of drama between Big Mom and her own children. Katakuri, Pudding, Chiffon, Lola, Praline, Zeus, all these presumed allies, or actual allies, were taught values of Big Mom herself. It's kind of a small reflection of Big Mom, sometimes at her worst, and also sometimes at her best. But by looking at them, you get more of a complete picture of who Big Mom actually is, and it sheds light and understanding of how Oda has been so misleading with her. But if you take anything from this, it's this simple rule. Big Mom cannot just kill anyone. Big Mom and her crew have a kind of code. Killing must be justified, even if it's justified in some absurd way that only makes sense to them. What we know is that Kaido and his crew definitely do not follow this code. So conflict is and was inevitable. Should Big Mom agree with dropping an island on a bunch of innocent people? Absolutely not. The only way it works is if she's ignorant or, just gone completely off her rocker and old age has led to dementia. Now she's, not even who she was. Now that we got this chapter, her interaction with Tama and her reflection on Okabore Town, I'm pretty convinced that she was ignorant of exactly what Kaido was doing to the people of Wano. I think that maybe she assumed or was told that the people Kaido intended to enslave and kill were probably bad people. The problem for Big Mom was that Big Mom happened to meet some of these people personally, and so knowing them and deeming them trustworthy, she believes their side of the story. Big Mom's amnesia was obviously going to play some kind of role. Mainly she meets Otama. She knows Otama is a good person and a friend. She trusts Otama, and anybody who tried to hurt her would become a bad person, like page 1. At the same time, this doesn't necessarily redeem any of the members of the Alliance. If Kid shows up, Big Mom probably will fight him too. If Luffy shows up, obviously that's not going to happen, but if it did, she would probably still want to kill him. The only way she is not is if, Tama explains in some way and gets through to her that they are good people and explains what they have done. Tama is just a character that has a really powerful role here regarding Big Mom. It's also entirely plausible Big Mom does not listen to Tama. Big Mom is not a great listener. Simultaneously, there is a legitimate possibility she goes overprotective mother mode on Tama, thereby preventing her from helping everybody else or, worse. I know people are thinking, JB, what about Chopper? Big Mom remembers Tama, so she should remember Chopper as well, right? Doesn't she want to kill Chopper? In my opinion, honestly, I don't think Big Mom has ever intended to kill Chopper, in kind of the same way that she never really had an intention to kill Brook, and so she didn't kill Brook. Chopper is an interesting and rare creature. Big Mom intends to protect him, and that's not a good thing. Just the same as it's not a good thing when she does it to her own children. That will happen. Brule foreshadowed at the start of Whole Cake Island, Big Mom will try to stick Chopper in the creature book, or something like that, period. That's going to happen. So you kind of got to make sense with this thing that will happen with, oh, now all of a sudden Big Mom is an ally. It makes you think, well, how much of an ally is she going to be after this chapter? Becomes debatable. I want to make this clear, guys. I still believe with all of my heart that Big Mom will eventually become a true ally, a real ally, that's, and how people would think about that. But I don't think that's what's going on here or what Oda is trying to accomplish in the short term. This was long awaited and needed Big Mom exposition. Oda is clarifying things about her. He is explaining her. I personally think that we are in for a ride. Oda's going to pull us in so many directions concerning Big Mom, we're going to be going crazy. That's how I see this going. But like I've been saying and kind of alluding to, the big thing that Oda needs to resolve before I really trust Big Mom is she needs to value other people's freedom more. And I've always thought that the best way to teach her this lesson is through her own family. That's the underlying conflict Oda has built up for Big Mom. Her relationship with her own family is fracturing slowly, and it all revolves around her smothering them and her hunger pangs, which none of them understand. At some point, guaranteed, Pudding is going to confront Big Mom with the truth that she probably does not want to be a Big Mom pirate anymore. She wants to marry who she loves. She wants to go where she likes, just like Lola. Pudding and Lola, it's basically been straight up stated in the manga, are, at least in some ways, very similar. Big Mom, as she is right now, very obviously won't take that well. Pudding is probably also going to tell her that Sanji made the cake. That'll happen too. And you gotta think about in which way is that reveal going to impact the story most, because that's, more often than not, how Oda's gonna look at this. There's still just so many ways Oda can make this go bad for the Alliance or for Big Mom in the short term. Personally, I wonder what happens if Big Mom encounters CP0. I wonder what happens if she finds out that Mother Carmel is dead and that she, Big Mom, killed her. Specifically, she ate her. I wonder how she reacts when she finds out from her own angry children how many of her other children that she has accidentally killed. Even if they came back to life because of her soul abilities, she still killed them in the first place, and that's how somebody like Mondor describes it at the beginning of Whole Cake Island, almost like angry, like Big Mom, more than willing to kill her own children. These are things that I think that Oda has to delve into more before Big Mom is just all of a sudden completely 100% on their side. But to throw some other ideas out there just because we're here, I think that the Portrait of Mother Carmel situation will come up again, except for maybe this time Big Mom may get hurt worse than she ever has. I think that maybe Pudding alters Big Mom's memories in order to protect her, protect others. Maybe Brûlé creates a fake Mother Carmel to give her some closure to, where did Mother Carmel go? These are just some of the ideas that we've had over the years as we've talked about Big Mom. It's also possible Big Mom kills more of her children, this time intentionally. And she could do this with Straw Hats as well, before we reach this kind of resolution with her flaws. But anyway, guys, that's how I really feel about the chapter. As it stands, I wouldn't say that I'm satisfied. I'm skeptically excited. If point A is Big Mom as an enemy and point C is Big Mom as an ally, I think that we've skipped point B. So I prefer to believe that this is point B, and Oda will now slowly work the story to get to point C. And the road might end up being very, very rocky. I want you guys to look for Lola. Obviously, we've had her cover series recently. I think Lola is on her way to an encounter with Big Mom, and I personally believe her to be vital to Big Mom's story. Also, I think Chopper or Law will have the most insight about Big Mom's rages, and that should come up too. Cocky or not, I felt strongly about this for a long time. And getting just this little bit of chaos from Big Mom in the chapter that took at least some people by surprise definitely validates me more. But I am still fully prepared as of this moment, fully prepared for more Big Mom doing effed up things. A great example, I feel like the chapter directly foreshadowed Big Mom is probably going to kill, or at least try to kill, Zeus, who very clearly loves her, much like her children. When you have an allied character who also has a vendetta against another allied character, it's like, okay, this is going to get complicated. That's the way that I see this. Oh, okay, deep breaths. 30 minutes later, I got that off my chest. Now let's talk about the rest of the chapter. If you guys can't tell though, I really like Big Mom. Unfortunately, I don't think that I'm going to top this first portion, so we'll try and do my best. So Big Mom actually created a new Stormcloud homie. So the theory community here gets another well-deserved W. I love that it is a girl homie this time. It honestly felt weird that it was such a sausage fest in Big Mom's soul, you know? So this makes more sense to me, and I'm excited for it. Personally, I wonder how the homies got their different personalities. Zeus is different from Prometheus, who's different from Napoleon, but they were all made out of Big Mom's own soul, or at least that's what's suggested. You know, is Zeus like Big Mom at the exact moment that he was created? Like, is Zeus like Big Mom when she was 6? And then when she created Napoleon, is Napoleon just like Big Mom at that moment when she was, say, 9? Is Prometheus just like Big Mom when she was 12? Is this new homie like Big Mom as she is now? Or do the homies work by like stealing a bit of Big Mom? For instance, is Big Mom a little less derpy because she made Zeus? The part of her soul which was like him kind of trapped outside of her body. So if she sucked Zeus back in and got her soul back, would her personality change at least slightly? You know, and after having created this new homie, it's kind of the same question. Did her personality change in some ways? I know that I'm throwing shit against the wall here, but I feel like Oda left something here for us to predict, so these are questions I have. Anyway, so Big Mom attacked Kid and Killer and then followed them inside the castle. We speculated this last week, but now that she's here, so many cool things could happen. I do think that eventually Prometheus may end up eating Orochi's fire. As we said in the last review, I don't know what else this fire is for, if not to interact with Big Mom. You know, it's maybe Prometheus eats it, or Big Mom may create another different kind of homie with her own soul, a fire homie like Prometheus. If that's the case, you know, refer to the shit that I just threw against the wall. We got a little bit of Luffy and Kaido in the chapter as well, and it sets up kind of how I thought it would, and I'm absolutely excited, but I feel as though we're about to have a lull. You know, it's like a solo fight, a legitimate fight between equals or pretty close. I really don't expect we'll come back to this fight again for some time. That's my gut feeling. Really feels like the fight on the roof is kind of wrapped up for now, and below the roof is going to take it's going to be so much more important. And this kind of relates to this topic as well, which shouldn't be surprising, but it kind of is. Oda is still setting up fights. This chapter sets up Hawkins vs. Killer. We still have so many fights that just don't feel like official fights yet. We haven't even seen Jinbei versus Who's Who almost at all. What is Sanji going to do? This battle is, despite us being 100 chapters into the arc and 30 chapters into the battle, this thing is still being set up. If you ask me, it still feels like, I know we're so deep into it, it still feels like there's a possibility of an Act 4 and 5. But Act 4 has to get here soon. I feel like we've been saying that for half a year now. Anyway, it feels like this is the most Killer dialogue that we've gotten in a long, long time. I really don't feel like I know him that well, so this was appreciated for me. Hawkins is like, probability, yada yada yada, and Killer's like, shut up, dude. Honestly, I respect that. I still expect Hawkins to eventually switch sides, but he's made it clear that he's not going to do that, or he's only going to do that when the cards tell him that the probability is in his favor. So really in the short term, aside from the fight, I don't know how excited I am to see the fight or who wins. That power scaling is not too interesting to me, but I do want to know what happens from a plot standpoint with Hawkins, and I want Hawkins to tell us. I mean, at some point he's got to finally reveal who the 1% man was. I personally think that person was Luffy. It might be somebody else. We may see that number go up throughout the fight as Basil Hawkins is keeping track of everything that's going out. I still think it's interesting that Killer's probability of death is 92%. It's like a reminder that the Allies still have a ways to go to even be at even odds in this fight. You know, it's like easy to sort of convince yourself, hey, we're closer to 50-50 now, right? Luffy's strong enough to face up against Kaido. No, Killer's still 92% chance of death. That felt like a poignant reminder. You can just imagine Morge saying in the background, the raid ends in failure. Then of course we have Tama. I don't know, guys, it could go either way. But my gut feeling based on my read on storytelling is when something is in your face, obvious, Oda will try to subvert expectations. Basically meaning that it seems real easy for Tama to control all the smile users. She's basically on the precipice of doing so. She's seconds and or a minute away from giving all the smile users a command. So in some way, that's probably not going to happen. Or if it does happen, it'll be after Oda convinces us that it won't happen. You guys know what I mean? It do be like that. I kind of see Big Mom turning into a hindrance, not necessarily an enemy, but a hindrance to literally everybody. Even if she doesn't wish Tama harm, maybe she takes Tama and tries to protect her or something. Tama fails to command the smile, and then things start cascading in the wrong direction. Then later she uses that ability when we can be surprised by it. I also thought that this chapter gave us some Tama death flags. I really don't think Oda will go there. But I've had it in my mind for a while that Kaido and his crew find a way to round up both Tama and Momonosuke, and I kind of just envision a scene where Tama and Momonosuke are both prisoners together. I don't know why, but that's just been in my head for a while. As the smile users gather around her, she could potentially give out a command. Oda also confirmed that Kibidengo doesn't affect real Zone Devil Fruit users. It felt like Oda just kind of threw that into the chapter to get it out of the way, and it's not really that big of a surprise, nor should it have been. And I know we're going rapid fire at this point, but we're over 40 minutes. Just a huge shout out, right, to Usopp in the chapter. I loved Usopp in this chapter. I think that page 1 was a little disappointing. I expect more. For some reason, I expect more out of page 1. He was on, the dog, right? So in reality, Nami and Usopp shouldn't really have stood much of a chance. That being said, it was worth it to some degree to see Usopp attack page 1. I know that he didn't do any real lasting damage, doesn't seem like, to him, but I still appreciate that Usopp moment, and Usopp was by far the funniest thing in this chapter. Usopp aimed for his vitals, his temple, his jaw, his Adam's apple. Try the solar plexus, his eyes, the nostrils. I lost it. And finally, the last thing that I want to talk about is we got this line from Kaido. The bigger the risk, the wider your smile. It seems like it's becoming painfully obvious how much smiles and laughter matter in the world of One Piece and to the in-game concepts that Oda has in mind. The will of D, meaning the will of the smile, like D smiley face, is like stupid strong. It's crazy though. For me to properly talk about this, we would need an entire, 30 more minutes of me sort of explaining how I think that this fits into the world of One Piece. But I guess in simplest terms possible, Oda is basically saying if you wanna fix the world, we need to smile more. And in this way, it's okay for a joke to undermine power scaling. Page 1 sacrifice was for the greater good. Think about that every time you think that Big Mom annoys you, Yeah, Oda sacrifices Big Mom's scary factor for a few jokes. That's like the meaning of One Piece. But yeah, guys, that is pretty much what I had to say today. Obviously, this was a very, very good chapter. But how we look at it after the fact is gonna depend on what happens in the future, and that's true for a lot of different One Piece chapters. Before we get to the outro here, I just want to remind you guys that links to Revujo's art will be in the description as well as pinned in the comments. He's done some seriously cool Berserk prints if you're interested in checking those out. But as always, guys, I'm curious as to what you guys think, whether you noticed something from the chapter that I might have missed. Just share your thoughts. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video, subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content, and as always, guys, have a wonderful day.